Alright, so next up we have Escaping Expulsion. As I said last week, this is part of the Paley screening, so I'm just getting to see both Separatides and Escaping Expulsion at once. So yeah, so between the two, I mean, I was excited for Separatides because it was the Return of the Outlaws and everything like that, but this is what I'm going to be most excited for because Alador and Odalia are going to be in this episode, and there's like some sort of like Blight industry showcase with like Abomination tech or something like that, and just man, I am so excited to meet them because man, they have been hyped up. But yeah, super excited to finally meet them formally. I'm also wondering what this deal is going to entail with Luce, Willow, and Gus because they get kicked out of school and expelled because of them. So I'm wondering what the dangerous deal that Luce gets herself in. Maybe it has something to do with the tech, like testing out the tech, and that's why we see Luce running and fighting the Abomination thing. But yeah, so a lot of stuff to look forward to. But yeah, let's get into it. Edric and Emra! I miss them! Oh gosh. Oh, Alador! Oh, this man looks like he's miserable. Oh no!
My name is Odalia, and as an oracle, I predict you'll love pour your tea.
Oh, she does not look happy.
Help you keep up.
Oh no, Amity!
Trends. Remember our deal? Make this look good, and we'll forgive your recent.
That's what the necklace does. Oh no! She had that on as a kid. And she still has it on now!
How will I ever escape?
Oh no! Oh no! Oh, no. Oh, but she just keeps that with her! That's so sweet! Oh no, is she gonna see the picture? And then she's gonna be like, why'd you do that? And then she's gonna get them kicked out of school.
When
but she just keeps it with her the whole time because it just means so much! Oh, this sweet baby girl!
Amity. Oh. I see. Looks like our precious Mittens has been getting distracted.
Oh no! Oh no! No! Let your daughter be happy, my god! This is like so heartbreaking. Alright, let's see what happens. Escaping Expulsion. Why'd you cover up the weather vane?
This is magic boot camp.
Yeah. Are you sitting at the desk? Oh man, look at Lily! She's so excited to learn!
In any case, today we're learning how to alter glyphs to do specific things.
Ooh,
Miss Teacher,
okay.
did I do it right? Yeah, that's really good. Let's see how you're doing each.
Okay, we'll test and workshop it.
Teacher said we're supposed to master the basics before.
Oh man, even though like Luce is so much younger than Lilith, she still like respects her and appreciates her as a teacher, which is awesome.
Memorization, repetition,
yeah. Bust out those flashcards.
Following the rules.
Laughing at tools like you.
Ah! I bet they're gonna like learn that, you know, Ida's kind of like wild and craziness, combined with like Lilith's very like by the rules approach to learning magic, will benefit them in mastering glyphs.
Did I
miss
a birthday or something?
Which puberty?
Oh my gosh, his voice is so much deeper!
Oh wow, that sounds so...
What? Oh my god! Oh no!
Good.
The ingredients are very fresh.
Oh.
Report to Principal Bump.
Oh man, Odalia.
Amity. Mom?
Oh, Alador, this poor man.
Of detention.
Oh man, she still has a necklace on.
Including our daughter.
Oh hey, Bump's hood's moving. I don't think that's happened before.
These three are bad influences and must be executed.
Executed? Why does she color mittens too? Oh no.
Sadly, I have no choice in the matter.
What?
Luce will.
Oh no.
Good.
Oh no! Oh, this is like breaking my heart, man. This is rough.
Amity!
People's reactions to this episode are gonna be so interesting to see.
Start surviving off the land.
Man, I can't get over Gus's voice. But the thing is that those, like, 2 truths and a lie thing that Data did during her charity stream, they're all gonna happen. Oh, hey, yeah, you feel good about yourselves? Losers?
This isn't personal. I actually appreciate.
You know, the thing is that Amity didn't have the necklace in some of those clips, presumably from the, through the looking glass ruins. Ooh,
if you're interested.
Which means that she might smash that necklace, which I hope she does.
Chomp!
Come
Oh,
on,
good.
Goose.
Wait, no.
We can figure this out on our own.
I wanted to
That's
see
right,
that.
we'll get-
Alador, this poor man just looks miserable all the time.
But those are disgusting liquids. These are symbols from the Isles. Maybe there's a different way to combine them.
Ooh, look at King with the advice. Oh man, look at Lilith go, and look at her being friends with Hootie. This is great. I love this. The troll. Oh, he's got like a memory book. He likes it. See, Bump's like a good principal. Oh my god. Oh god. Oh no. See, this is why I like Bump. He's actually a good guy who tries to, you know, to do the best for his students.
So dull without them.
Wait, you have the abomination thing on your wrist. Oh no.
This is Perry Porter with breaking news.
Oh no.
In light of recent
I'm sorry. I was a coward in there. But my mom...
Hey, I get it. You're scared of her. But I'm not. And I need you to take me to her.
I can't.
Oh.
I have to go.
Use your abomination at least to help you with your books, please.
I call it the super glyph.
More like a
Oh god, no.
Yes, you-
Oh no. What? Oh no. Oh no. Oh man, we just go into Blight Manor? Oh, this is so exciting. Oh man, she's bringing flowers.
Hello? Mr. and Mrs. Blight?
Oh jeez.
We have a rather important presentation tonight showing off some new products.
Like abominations?
We have a long night ahead of us, folks.
Boy.
Welcome back.
We specialize in weaponry.
Oh my god. Oh jeez, loose. Man, what a loser. You get some kids expelled, and then you just want to like beat up on this poor 14-year-old? Oh man, that's what their outfit looks like without the cowl on? Oh god, loose.
To make sure you're getting, we're quitting our jobs to homeschool you. And we'll
Oh,
spend
man.
all of
Oh,
the
hey,
life cycle
Hop-Hop.
of a common swamp
up?
toad.
Aww. I'm glad that these three are hanging out.
It's a beautiful lady guy.
This isn't a cartoon from the 40s, Gus. We need a better plan.
This could work.
I don't like
Here's
them
an idea.
arguing like this so much,
Why don't
but...
you just walk through the front?
Oh, hey! What's up, Edinum? That's right, you stand up for yourself, Amity. Man! They are just really taking a beating on her, jeez.
And
Yeah, like the mecha abomination.
the Abomaton 2.0.
Oh, boy. Oh, well, they got caught. Oh, well.
Until its enemy is completely eliminated.
Oh, no. Why? You're literally gonna kill a child?
Until its enemy is completely eliminated.
Man,
Okay,
people are
that
gonna
means to get
hate
me up here.
Odalia. Oh, nope. It can...
You fool!
Oh, man. The animation has just been really great so far. Oh, boy. No, you're not.
Hey! Stay away from my loot!
Oh, man. Aw, my loose.
Lilith, emergency!
See, they both need to learn when
Yeah,
to
I
ask for
messed
help.
up.
Amity about to go off.
You are in so much trouble.
Oh,
Luce, are you okay?
man. Oh. People are gonna love this episode.
You're gonna listen to me for once. They make me think about the kind of person I really want to be.
Oh, baby. Oh, look at that. They're so cute. Oh. Oh, man. You just let your... Oh, they're just acting. Okay. I was about to say, like, man, Alador and Odalia were just like, yeah, sure, I can crush our child.
You made a deal with your daughter.
Oh, yeah,
And
look
a
at
Blight
that. Yep.
always up, strong enough to become a Covenhead someday.
Oh.
Wise words.
I hope we see more of them. They're super interesting. People are gonna hate Odalia.
They command the magic around them. They're like words.
This is
And drawing
more.
glyphs on top. Yes, the glyph combo, copyright me, Lilith, helps organize the command.
Time!
Oh, King,
So
buddy.
with the right... Then we better start learning some new combinations.
Oh man, they're gonna start making their own? Oh man, look, this
Do
is
I
adorable.
have to
Oh my god.
Oh, my gosh.
It's okay, you're getting there, Ida.
Hmm?
It's the
Wow.
effort that
Yeah.
counts. Willow's such like an overachiever.
Your abomatons are quite extraordinary.
Oh no, they're gonna
Too
hire
bad no one
them.
will be receiving them.
Oh, new end credits! Oh, and look at them. Oh yeah, remember my king? Oh, we'll get you home, don't worry. Oh man, those were both such great episodes. People are going to lose it over this episode though. Oh my god. They're gonna lose it with Luce and Amity, my goodness. Luce is catching feelings. Oh, they're so sweet and adorable and I love them so much. Aw, that was sweet. Man, Alador and Odalia though, yeah, Odalia absolutely sucks. Alador has some redeeming qualities at least, but man, I want to see them more again, and especially if the Emperor's Coven is hiring them to for funding to make these abomination robots and abomination tech, we're gonna be seeing more of them, and I'm super excited for that because they are very interesting characters. But oh my god, oh man, what a great start. What a great start to the season. Oh man, I'm so excited. This is gonna be great. Well, Alador and Odalia Blight were certainly hyped up for their formal introduction into the series, and viewers' expectations and predictions for Odalia at the very least were pretty on the mark when it comes to her character. Seriously, this woman is just digging herself into a hole at this point, but I cannot wait to see all of the memes that include her because I think they will be hilarious. I feel like the cancel Lilith thing after Agony of a Witch was only a warm-up for how viewers are going to react and feel about Odalia. But she and Alador certainly left an impression with their official debut in the show. But outside of their introduction, Escaping Expulsion also had some nice development with Luce and Amity and also gave us some backstory on Glyphs. But before I get into any of that though, let's start with our secret messages for this episode. Last season, our episode title message was "A witch loses a true way." And so far for this season, we have seek and a word starting with T, most likely the word the. I know that Disney Animation Promos tweeted out the episode titles that will be airing in July, but Disney Animation Promos is not officially affiliated with Disney, and I try to only cover official news here on this channel. So for the time being, I'm just going to stay quiet on July episodes until there is official word. But we also have our symbol message. From last season, we had 2 witches torn apart, now alone, 2 hearts of stone, a curse of feathers and mud, a betrayal of blood. So far for this season, we have the word seething. These symbols for Escaping Expulsion are found in Alador's workshop behind Odalia. Decoded, the word is seas. So we now have seething seas. With only 2 words to go off of, I'm thinking this message will revolve around the Boiling Isles since the Isles are located in the Boiling Sea. But it's still pretty early to say definitively. But with the messages and codes out of the way, let's get into the relevant plot, lore, and world building of this episode. So our opening shot, we see Blight Industries Factory, a subsidiary of the Abomination Coven. So while Alador and Odalia may not be in the Emperor's Coven or even Coven heads, they still do have power and influence by being a branch of the Abomination Coven. Also, if you look at the top right corner of this shot, you can see that Blight Manor is relatively close. And for having such a nice house, I just find it funny that it overlooks a giant factory with smokestacks. Not much of a scenic view, but the Blights are holding a private sale showcase to investors, Edric and Emera being the door greeters, and they had such a small role in this episode, but it was nice getting to see them again. But we get our formal introduction of Alador and Odalia, and both of their personalities are pretty apparent immediately, and I think Odalia is pretty much what everyone expected personality-wise, but Alador is just a bit of a doofus. I kinda always saw Odalia as the one in control, but I thought Alador would be somewhat stoic and intimidating. But nah, he's just a tired man who gets easily distracted. When it comes to their business, Odalia is more of the face and showman of the two, while Alador is the brains. Alador is also considered the greatest abomination inventor of the era, and Odalia also confirms she is an oracle. And this lines up with the flashback from Youngblood Old Souls where we saw their younger selves. But in addition to Ed and Em helping out with these sales, Amity also gets roped in. For this showcase in particular, she is helping show off the Abomaton soldier. And here we get what I consider a pretty shocking revelation in that the necklace that Amity wears is connected to Odalia's and allows her to communicate to her through telepathy, which is likely an ability associated with oracle magic. And this gives a whole new perspective on Amity's relationship with Odalia, considering she's been wearing that necklace since she was a kid like we saw in Understanding Willow. It's also weird because to our knowledge, Edric and Emra don't have anything like that, so this is something only unique to Amity. There is also the response from Dana during the AMA that Odalia dyes Amity's hair to have her kids be color coordinated. Even the shade of Amity's hair is like her mom's, so just overall a lot was revealed in terms of the relationship and backstory between Amity and her mom. Also worth noting is that Odalia calls Amity Mittens as well, so maybe rather than Ed and M starting the nickname, it was Odalia. Additionally, it seems the reason Amity got roped into this showcase and has to do a good job is because she hasn't been doing as well in school. And I also just love the minimal effort that Amity puts into the act. Like, you go girl, you keep giving us nothing. But as Amity is continuing the act, the photo from Grom falls out of her shirt sleeve. Two things. One, I think this really highlights how much women's pants suck and that they don't have pockets. And two, it's the sweetest thing that Amity just keeps that photo on her. Like, this girl is going from hating her friends, if you could even really call them that, to having people like Luce, Willow, and Gus in her life and actually being nice. And Amity having the photo on her just shows how important those three and their kindness is. So much so that she's willing to ruin the showcase in order to protect the photo. Which obviously Odalia doesn't take too well. I also like this line from Odalia.
Amity! You just lost us a lot of money! What's with you lately?
Because that means that Amity's attitude and behavior has been changing over an extended period of time, which just shows how much Luce and the others have impacted her. And like, just look at this little smile on her face, it's so wholesome. But Odalia, seeing the photo, realizes that Amity has been hanging out with Luce and the gang and wants to cut ties since she believes they are distractions. And I can't imagine how pathetic of a person you have to be to make it your goal to expel 3 kids because they're hanging out with your daughter and making her happy. But here we are. Now, on a happier note, Luce is teaching Lilith and Ida about glyphs, specifically day 3 of Luce's magic boot camp. Also, I didn't realize it until afterwards, but the cauldron on the weather vane is supposed to be a school bell. But I just love seeing the juxtaposition of Lilith and Ida as students. I feel like this is a bit of a glimpse into what they were like in their youth. But we find out that Luce has not discovered any more glyphs outside of the 4 we have already seen, those either coming from nature or another witch's spell. However, we do learn that you can alter glyphs to set off chains for different effects. The example Luce has outlines the differences in using squares, triangles, and circles to set off different chains. And again, I just love that Lilith is the star student who excels in a learning environment and also having a ton of respect for Luce as a teacher. And then Ida is just off doing her own thing, but points for creativity in trying to combine glyphs. But this brings us to Luce's first day back at school since the petrification. And with it comes the reunion with Willow, Gus, and Amity. And here we find out that Gus did hit a growth spurt. Back in my video analyzing Dana's charity stream, I thought it was a possibility since Gus's voice actor, Isaac Ryan Brown's voice got deeper. So rather than him trying to keep his voice in the same range, which puberty there, problem solved. But this also means that the 2 lies and a truth from the charity stream will all probably happen. From the trailer, Hootie leaves the Owl House, and with Gus hitting his growth spurt, that just leaves Camilla beating somebody up. And since she was featured in the trailer, that will probably happen too. So Dana, the real lie was that there was only going to be one truth, huh? But Amity brings Luce a homemade fairy pie. And damn, Luce really has Amity going the extra mile and baking for her. Also, if these fairies are the same flesh-eating fairies from the first episode, then they deserve to get baked into that pie. And did Amity hunt these fairies down with like a blow dart in the forest? Seriously, where did you get these? But unfortunately, this cute moment doesn't last long because Alador and Odalia have arrived at Hexside. And of course, the wealthy, privileged family is the head of the Parent Creature Association. But hey, people actually do know that Luce's last name is Nosetta. So many people call her Luce the Human, I was beginning to wonder if people thought that was her actual name. But Alador and Odalia, but mostly Odalia, call for Willow, Luce, and Gus to be expelled for being bad influences for past issues at Hexside. We also see that Bump's hood, who is named Freywin, moves for the first time in the series. And I also think it's funny that Alador is far more interested in Freywin rather than anything that his wife is saying. But the trio's expulsion is punishment for Amity not holding up her end of the deal at the showcase. And Amity is too scared to even argue with her mom on this, which is just so disheartening. Because if this and understanding Willow was any indication, I'm just guessing that this is kind of the norm for Amity and her mom dishing out unjust punishments and using her influence over her. Seriously, someone just help this poor girl. But unfortunately, Bump can't do anything to stop the trio from getting expelled. Like seriously, how much influence does the Parent Creature Association have? But we can clearly see Amity is conflicted and feels guilty for not saying anything, something that will come up later in this episode. This leads to the trio having to come to terms with being expelled. And here Gus mentions only his dad, so maybe Gus comes from a single parent household. And Willow, Willow.
I guess this is goodbye. I'll order you one last time. With my tears.
Now, Luce being Luce isn't afraid to stand up for her friends and confronts Odalia. And seriously, Alador is far more interested in anything more than his wife. But the interesting thing that we will see on Alador is that he has an abomination seal on his wrist. We'll actually see this on Bump a bit later in this episode, and in the trailer, the presumed character Gwendolyn had one on her wrist for the Beast-Keeping Coven. These seals were first introduced to us in Convention as a way to seal off all other forms of magic besides that specific type. So covens and seals will be far more important this season. But Odalia offers to talk things out with Luce, however Willow and Gus don't want to resort to making a deal with her to get back into Hexside. I especially love Willow's face here because she just looks so done with Odalia, especially since she knows from the flashback in Understanding Willow how awful Odalia can be. Willow doesn't want anything to do with her, which I don't blame her for. And oh, Alador, you poor man. Now back at the Owl House, Ida is still trying to combine glyphs via a glyph pyramid, which is having less than ideal results. Additionally, we also get new info that bile sacs contain different spell phlegms to perform different spells, but that doesn't translate to glyphs. And while Ida is struggling with glyphs, Lilith is absolutely killing it, even learning how to do different chains for different effects. So determined to show up Lilith, Ida goes into even more adventurous methods of combining glyphs. But back with our trio, they initiate Operation Change Bump's Mind, and they fail. But I do like how much Bump actually cares about Luce, Willow, and Gus. The guy clearly likes being a principal and wants the best for his students. There are even pictures from I Was a Teenage Abomination and Enchanting Gromfright in there, as well as a new picture of Willow and Gus saving Luce from a locker. But like, who took the picture from I Was a Teenage Abomination and the locker pic? Also, I like that Hexside just has a ballista on hand. They just have one. But here we see that Bump also has an Abomination Coven seal on his wrist. We saw in I Was a Teenage Abomination that he could control abominations, but it's just nice getting that confirmation. We also see the return of the crow phones as they take Willow and Gus away. But this leads to a conversation between Luce and Amity, with Amity apologizing for being a coward and not saying anything back in Bump's office. And at least she acknowledges it, but it also shows the power her mom has over her, Luce even saying the following,
But my mom... Hey, I get it. You're scared of her, but I'm not.
And the fact that Amity doesn't even deny that she's scared of her mom also says a lot, and she even tries to convince Luce not to make a deal with her mom, probably because she knows that her mom has ulterior motives. But Luce being Luce, doesn't think it's fair for Willow and Gus and wants to try and get them back into school with Amity's help. However, Amity still doesn't want to disobey or go against her mom's wishes. And considering Amity would literally do anything for Luce, that's pretty telling how scared she is of her mom. Also, this probably wasn't intentional, but back in Wing It Like Witches, this moment happened.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I'm not putting anything down.
And now we have Luce picking up what Amity dropped. Again, probably not intentional, but I just thought it was an interesting detail. But undeterred, Luce looks at the Blight's business card, which has some really fun Easter eggs. The address, 811 Bruegel Boulevard, is named after Peter Bruegel the Elder, a famous painter from the Dutch and Fleming Renaissance, along with Hieronymus Bosch, a big inspiration for Dana when developing the show. The rest of the address reads Bonesboro H, which could possibly stand for Hell, and the zip code 120890 is Dana's birthday. And I also just love that they literally put right arm as part of the address. I just think it's really cool that based where you're located on the Boiling Isles, the body part is a part of the address. And I'm guessing that the BI stands for Boiling Isles. Before we actually go to Blight Manor though, we get the answer to the question of what happens if you combine all 4 glyphs together? And bad things happen. But with Luce going to Blight Manor, we see that there is an Abomination Butler and overall just a theme of Abomination and Oracle magic in the decor. But even in the family portrait, Amity looks miserable. I know this was our introduction to Alador and Odalia, but I'm really hoping we come back here again soon so we can get more backstory on them and their family. But this takes us to Alador's workshop, where Luce agrees to a deal with Odalia to help show off their product line to get her, Willow, and Gus back at school. And this line from Odalia,
"Don't worry, human. A Blight always upholds their end of the deal."
will come back later. But for now, we just have Odalia roughing up Luce as part of the demonstration. Amity finds out that Luce made a deal with her mom and gets the help of Willow and Gus. And we also see what the Hexside uniform looks like without the cowl. Also, I may be looking into things, but considering Willow and Amity's past, Amity getting Gus first may have acted as a bit of a buffer, but we also get to see the return of Willow's dads, this time with voice acting. And the fact that these two were willing to quit their jobs to homeschool Willow, that is dedication as parents right there. I also love their dynamic that one is far more uptight than the other, and we also get an Amphibia reference here. And when Willow tries to sneak out, I just love that her dad keeps it a secret. Like, maybe he should have inquired where she was going at the very least, but you know that this one's the cool dad. But I love seeing these three interact with each other. We saw a glimpse in Wing It Like Witches, but I just really want to see them and their dynamic without Luce always being there. This time in particular though, they are just bickering, but I hope that they actually have some fun interactions when they aren't trying to save Luce from getting beat up by Amity's mom. But Ed and Em come to the rescue and helping Amity, Willow, and Gus out. And man, considering these two started off as such jerks and lost in language, they really have been a lot nicer siblings. But that doesn't keep them from pulling pranks, although Amity is catching on to their antics and putting her foot down. The last product Odalia shows is an upgrade from the previous Abomination mech, the Abomination 2.0. And I guess Odalia is okay with just straight up killing a kid even after Alador says that the demonstration is enough. Man, Odalia just keeps digging herself deeper in that hole. But it's Amity to the rescue with this really awesome shot and line.
Stay away from my loot!
Amity?
Like, they didn't need to go all out with the animation and the lighting here, but they did anyway. We're only 2 episodes into this season, and there's already parts where I'm like, damn, you guys really didn't need to go that hard. But while all of this is going on, the super glyph from Ida is becoming a bit more of a problem, and though she hates it, she has to ask Lilith for help. And I like that in the previous episode, Lilith needed to learn it's okay to ask for help, and now Ida is doing the same here. And Lilith, being the star student that she is, she's going to try some glyph experimentation. Back at the showcase though, we see Amity go off, swooping in to save Luce and even crushing that damn necklace. And then we get the moment that everyone will be talking about.
Luce, are you okay?
Yeah, as soon as I saw this, I knew this would be the thing that everyone would want to talk about. I know spoilers and leaks were running rampant initially, but I was so excited for this episode to officially air so people could actually post and discuss this moment. It will never not be heartwarming and give me the warm fuzzy feelings inside seeing 2 girls have a crush on each other, but I'll go into a bit more detail on Luce and Amity's relationship a bit later. With Amity fighting to protect Luce though, we're seeing Amity the strongest she has been in the show thus far, holding her own against her own dad's creation. And she even gets the courage to finally tell her mom off in probably one of my favorite pieces of dialogue from Amity. The biggest standout for me is her saying Luce, Willow, and Gus make her think about the kind of person she wants to be. All her life, she has always lived by her parents' expectations, but now she's starting to think about the life she wants to live rather than what her parents want. And just look at them, they're so cute. Side note, I love how Amity is telling her mom off and Alador is just standing there like, ah yes, I'm so proud of you, daughter. Amity even gets Odalia to agree to letting Luce, Willow, and Gus back in school if it means she gets backing from the investors. And way to hustle your mom, Amity, good job! But with the deal struck, Amity and Luce pretend to be defeated by the Abomination and sales go through the roof for Blight Industries. And the fact that all of these investors cheer at 2 girls getting crushed is really funny to me. But even though this was a rousing success, Odalia is still being petty and tries to go back on her deal, which definitely makes her trying to cut ties with Luce and the others far more personal than she let on. But Alador actually makes Odalia hold up her end of the deal, throwing this line back at her.
You made a deal with your daughter, and a Blight always upholds their end of the deal.
And while Alador did look proud of Amity before, it is likely because he acknowledges her growing power. So much so that she might be a coven head one day. And this kind of feeds into the whole Amity never really wanted to join the Emperor's coven and it was pushed on her by her parents. But we'll likely learn more about that in due time. Back at the Owl House, we see the super glyph situation has been resolved thanks to Lilith, and we get some major info dropped on glyphs that will be huge for the series going forward. Glyphs act as basic elements. Unlike bile sacs, they don't contain magic, but rather control it. Glyphs are basically like words. Combining them all at once is like yelling a bunch of words at the same time and the spell doesn't know the command, like we saw with Ida's superglyph. A glyph combo, copyrighted by Lilith Clawthorn, is a way to specify and organize the commands. With the right combo, you can perform any spell. In addition to all of this, King says the following.
Maybe the reason Luce hasn't found any more glyphs is because there aren't anymore.
So these are our basic spells. Like Luce said in the very beginning of this episode, learn the basics. With these 4 basic spells, the group will all work together to discover other glyph combinations. Which is fun because instead of looking for more glyphs, it will be experimenting to see what kinds of crazy combinations the group can come up with. And I think it was really smart to establish the basics in Season 1 and then expand upon that in Season 2. But with Luce returning home from a rough day, Lilith and Ida both get extra credit. And damn right Lilith deserves that extra credit, she made a goddamn breakthrough with that glyph combo. But glyphs are not the only plot thread that will be elaborated on going forward, because we also have the Blights being hired by the Emperor's Coven to continue to make abominatons and other abomination weaponry. And I feel like this will turn into a plot thread of Alador and Odalia needing to decide whether or not they will stick with the Emperor's Coven or turn on them to help loosen the gang. It's a bit early to really tell, but with them getting hired, that definitely means we'll be seeing them again, which I'm excited for because I find them very interesting. But overall, Escaping Expulsion had a ton of plot, lore, and world building. From the introduction of Alador and Odalia Blight to learning more about glyphs, there was certainly a lot to talk about. But with all of the plot, lore, and world building out of the way, let's get into all of the character development for this episode. I'll start off first with some of the smaller characters. Edric and Emera are good older siblings in helping out Amity. Also, they seem to know that they don't want to upset Odalia since they ask Amity not to tattle on them. King acted as support to Ida and Lilith with their glyphs. Ida and Lilith this episode was a fun juxtaposition in how they approach school. Lilith, the more studious one who has the utmost respect for Luce as a teacher and always willing to learn, while Ida just likes to wing it and do things her own way. It's especially interesting because that's kind of how they both approached magic and covens. Lilith always trying to do things the proper way, except for the cursing her sister thing, and Ida always being a bit of a wild child and didn't want to follow the rules laid out by the Emperor's Coven and do things her own way. As I mentioned before, Lilith learned she needed to ask for help in the last episode, and here Ida has to do the same. Which is especially important for Ida and Lilith's development considering they have been at odds with each other for most of the show so far. But through discovering the potential of glyph combos together, I'm hoping these two will start forming a closer relationship as they now try to learn new combos for spells. Our other characters that had smaller roles were Willow and Gus. It was nice seeing them reunite with Luce this episode, and the trio is still their usual supportive goofy selves, especially when it came to trying to get back into Hexside. I also did really like the scene with Willow and her dads. They're so caring and sweet, and I enjoyed seeing the dynamic of their family. I don't think we'll ever get an episode focusing on them, but I would love to see them pop up every now and again. Also, the fact that Gus and Willow are teaming up with Amity is reassuring that we'll see more of these three together in future episodes. I do hope we see more of Willow and Gus in the near future. With Gus at the very least, we'll be seeing him again in Through the Looking Glass Ruins, but I hope we get some more Willow-centered episodes as well. Now this brings us to our bigger characters this episode, and I'll start with our new characters Alador and Odalia. Whether you love them, hate them, or love to hate them, these two were highly anticipated characters, and personality-wise, I think people pinned Odalia pretty spot on, but Alador was a bit of a surprise. Even just based on the flashback and understanding Willow and the brief appearance in the flashback from Youngblood Old Souls, Odalia seemed to be the one who was in more control, but Alador is such an absent-minded doofus at times that I can't help but wonder how these two met and their subsequent relationship and marriage. Maybe we'll get more backstory on that because I would love to know, but out of the two, I think that Alador will be the one that viewers will withhold their judgment on for now. Like I said before, Odalia keeps digging herself deeper in that hole, especially with the revelation of what Amity's necklace does. Yeah, that's some bad parenting. especially from episodes like Understanding Willow where Amity was like 6, and even Adventures in the Elements. Knowing that Necklace was to have that power and influence over Amity adds a whole other layer to this relationship. I am wondering if it will ever be explained in the show why Amity seems to be the one singled out of the siblings. My guess is that it's because Amity doesn't live up to the Blight family name like Odalia would like. Amity is a great student, but things don't come as naturally to her like Ed and Em. Plus, she takes after Alador when it comes to her hair color, and the fact that Amity's dyed hair color matches her mother's, and to an extent even the hairstyle, makes me wonder if Odalia is trying to turn Amity into another version of her, hence why Amity would be given the necklace at such a young age. It's definitely a very complicated relationship that I hope we continue to see develop going forward, especially with where this episode left off. With Amity crushing the necklace and remaining friends with Luce, Willow, and Gus, I am wondering how Odalia will act around all of them. At the very least, it seems she will tolerate them since Alador put the idea in her head that Luce and the gang have been making Amity stronger. Keeping them around would only mean that Amity continually improves and has a better shot at getting in with the Emperor's Coven to uphold the family name. And I find Odalia's thought process here interesting because at the start of this episode, she saw Luce, Willow, and Gus as distractions, even to the point of potentially killing Luce. But now she sees them as assets. Even though she may not particularly like them, the potential ends justify the means. The other interesting thing about Odalia and Alador is that the way they view goals is very different. Odalia sees things more short-term, where Alador sees things long-term. Something like not getting enough sales in one night or Amity's grades slipping a little bit is seen as a huge failure for Odalia, but Alador can see things long-term and it has the patience to see how things pan out, such as Amity being friends with Luce. I think out of the two, Alador is far more accepting of Luce. He even tried to help bail Luce out from fighting the Abomaton, but Luce also helping Amity advance her skills is just a bonus. I'll also give Alador points for holding Odalia to her word of a Blight upholding their end of the deal. Honestly, Odalia just seems pretty petty and bending the rules when things don't go her way, but Alador at least has some integrity to keep her in check. But like I said, these two will be very interesting to follow as the show continues on. I mean, we're bound to run into them again if they're now working for the Emperor's Coven. I know some people out there probably don't want to see them again, but come on, you're not at least a little bit interested to see where their characters go from here? But with those two out of the way, let's go over Luce and Amity. Now in our opening at the private sale showcase, Amity doesn't seem thrilled with helping her parents. And we know it's partly because she made a deal with her mom to help out and they'll let her slipping performance in school go. But I think the biggest thing out of this scene is Amity carrying this picture around. Amity is coming from a place of not having any real friends or a caring relationship, not since Willow at least. So now having real friends like Luce and Gus and repairing that friendship with Willow, it means the world to her. So it's just the sweetest thing that she carries this picture around with her as a bit of a memento. The fact she was also willing to disobey her mom in order to protect the picture also shows how much it means to her. Now switching gears briefly to Luce, she's off making good on her promise to teach Ida and Lilith glyphs. And I love Luce and Lilith's relationship here. I mean, Luce isn't particularly fond of Lilith, but just seeing her calling Luce teacher and Luce being supportive of her as a student is so nice to see. Once we get to Hexside and we get our reunion, Luce and Amity are of course adorable here, and look at Luce being polite as hell accepting the fairy pie. I mean, I know Ida knows that Luce can't eat a lot of things on the Boiling Isles, but you would think this conversation would have come up at some point between Amity and Luce. Regardless, it's a really sweet gesture and shows how much Amity cares about Luce. But it's once Amity's parents show up that things start to get a bit more complicated. Cause Amity is clearly upset that her parents would try to expel her friends solely because they feel that they are distractions, when in reality they are the best thing that has happened to Amity in a long time. But because of her mother's influence over her, she's too afraid to disobey her. And to Luce, this is somewhat shocking. Like Luce says later on, she isn't afraid of Odalia. But for Amity to not say anything or stick up for Luce, Willow, and Gus is upsetting for Luce, almost pleading with Amity as she's pulled away. And Amity clearly feels bad from the last look she gives Luce and their conversation later on. And even though Luce is upset with the situation, it doesn't stop her from confronting Odalia or even being open to talking things out with her. It kind of reminds me of Luce's feelings towards Lilith in Agony of a Witch and Youngblood Old Souls. She didn't like her but was willing to work with her if it meant saving Ida. Here we have Luce willing to work with Odalia if it means getting her, Willow, and Gus back into school. Later on in the episode when she's talking to Amity, I like that Luce isn't mad at Amity for not saying anything. She understands that Amity has a complicated relationship with her mother and doesn't hold that against her. And again, the fact that Amity doesn't even deny that she is scared of her mom speaks volume. And thankfully by the end of this episode, Amity doesn't seem to be afraid of her mom anymore, but I'll get into that in a bit. Now Luce ends up shouldering the load and getting everyone back into Hexside by going to Blight Manor. And even after getting kicked out of school, Luce still grabbed some flowers for Odalia. They were flowers already on the property, but still it's the thought that counts. But Luce strikes a deal to help Willow and Gus out, but she probably didn't know what Odalia had in mind for the showcase. And Amity, knowing her mom, probably knows this doesn't bode well for Luce and gets Willow and Gus to help her out. But it's ultimately Amity who jumps in to save Luce, even saying,
"Stay away from my loot!"
And I think the interesting thing is that this is actually very similar to Grom. Amity jumps in to save Luce, but it isn't until this moment from Escaping Expulsion that Luce seems to be crushing on Amity. And I think there are two reasons for this. One, Luce was scared of Grom taking the form of her mother and was a bit too distracted to really take notice of Amity in that way. And two, Luce switched places to help out Amity, but also to prove herself. By Amity stepping in, it just affirmed that Luce failed and couldn't face her fear. Again, a bit distracting to take notice of Amity. But here, while Luce is in a dangerous situation, she wasn't facing her greatest fear or looking to prove herself. So when Amity jumps in to save her, Luce is genuinely taken aback by it and starts forming a bit of a crush. Also, if a girl was wearing a cape, swung down on a rope, faced off with an abomination, and crushed a weird necklace that her mom used to influence her, I would probably start crushing too. It's a really sweet and cute moment, but I think the next moment of Amity telling her mom off is really great too. Since Odalia has had such control over Amity's life, she was never one to speak out of turn. So for the first time, we really see Amity speaking her mind. As she puts it, Odalia will listen to her for once. And she very clearly says that Luce, Willow, and Gus are her friends, that they're nice and listen to each other, and that they make her think about the person she wants to be. Basically everything Odalia isn't, and things that Amity has never had before in her life. I think this is honestly one of Amity's best scenes. It's tied up there with the scene from Convention for me, but just seeing how much stronger she has gotten from having healthy, caring friendships around her is so heartwarming. And on a smaller side note, also good commentary on how good grades don't always translate to success or happiness. But I love how each episode Luce and Amity are in together, it just furthers their relationship. Like the cute little blushing when they stand back to back is such a sweet moment considering some of their first interactions. And we know that these two will be in Through the Looking Glass Ruins together, so that means their relationship will only grow from here. But it never ceases to amaze me and also warm my heart at how sweet these two are and just how much everyone loves them. Honestly, at this point, I feel like saying you like Luce and Amity and you want to see more of them is like saying you like air and you want to keep breathing. But Escaping Expulsion was huge for these two because it dealt with Amity standing up to her mother and also Luce openly catching feelings for Amity. Two things many viewers have been anticipating, so the fact we got them in the same episode is just like hitting two birds with one stone. But overall, I thought this episode had a lot of great stuff when it came to character development, specifically for Luce, Amity, Odalia, and Alador. Just in general, this episode had a lot going for it, and I can see it being a fan favorite going forward. I mean, this episode set up 3 big plot threads, including Luce and Amity's relationship, Odalia and Alador's role in the series, and the use of glyph combos going forward. So all around a big episode for the series, and I cannot wait to see how those 3 plot threads continue to develop as the season goes on. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you have a fantastic day, and until next time guys, take care.